We're going to continue not where we left off, because I was explaining the last couple of days that we're going to try to go this week through some of the interpretations of the plagues, and if we go through all the text, we're not going to make the plagues this week. So yesterday we did already the blood and the frogs. Today we're going to do the lice and the mixture of animals, the arov. And we'll try to see if we can squeeze in all 7 plagues in this week. So we're kind of skipping pages, just to kind of cover it all. So we're going to continue now on page Lamed Amud Bet, 30b, but with a very short explanation. Yesterday we were talking about 2 plagues that had to do with the water, the blood and the frogs. And the blood, because the Nile was hit, even though all the water, all the beverages in Mitzrayim got afflicted with the blood. And we mentioned also the idols were bleeding, the stones and the wood was bleeding, everything was bleeding. Everything that had type of a liquid. Even the walls were bleeding, everything was blood. It's not like what we imagine, just a river full of blood. And to a point that even when they would take an orange, the Egyptians, to squeeze the orange, blood came out. Anything that was liquid was blood. So at some point they didn't have what to drink, so they went to the Jews. And even if the Jews, I don't have a cup here, but let's say that's a cup, even if the Jew and the Egyptian will share a cup, what would go into the Jew was water, what went into the Egyptian was blood. So they couldn't get away with it. Only when they purchased with money water from the Bnei Israel, then it worked. And that way they started getting money back. So the Jews were doing business even then, in the middle of Mitzrayim, still doing business. So the Jewish mind, how am I going to make money here on you? So, but nevertheless, everything got hit by the blood, and which the first strike went onto the Niles. Then we talked again about the frogs. We mentioned how 1 frog came out of the Nile, the Yor, and then the rest came. So these are the 2 plagues that started with the water. It says that in the Torah, the text, it says Bayamim uvayorot, in the oceans and in all the Yorot. Now Yor, in English is not the root translation to say Niles, because Yor is not the name of the river, rather it's the explanation, it's the definition of what it is. Now when the text says Yeorot, means they had many of them. What did the Egyptians used to do? They made these canals everywhere, and when the Yeor would go up, then the water will overflow into all the canals, and that's how the water they had a watering system, and the water would run in all these canals and water all the other fields, and would be able to move water from one place to another. So the plague was in all the waters. Here is something that we didn't read. I'm just going to explain it verbally so we can go to the next plague. It says that the same way that there are different rivers, we'll call it now, here in the world, is because in the world above there's many rivers. If you remember, many times we have learned that when it's talking about Gan Eden, it says that a river came from out of Gan Eden. This is in Sefer Bereshit, in Genesis, not in the Zohar. It says, V'nahar yotze mi Eden, that it was a river that came out of Eden. We explained already what the Zohar says, that Eden is referring to the sphere of Chokhmah. The Nahar is the Shefa, the abundance that goes from Chokhmah to Bina. But we do know about a river going out of Chokhmah, out of Eden, U'mitpatzel le'arba'a rashim, and it breaks into 4 heads. And these are the 4 rivers that are going out of Gan Eden. This is Gan Eden in this world. But nevertheless, we explained many times that the paths that go from one sphere to another, they're also called rivers in the Kabbalistic term. So it says that these rivers in the world above, they're not physical rivers, rather these are pipes or channels. In Hebrew, the word in Hebrew is tzinor, tzinorot shefa. If I want to pass something from point A to point B, it needs to transport through a certain pipe or certain channel. In our generation, we can relate with even things that are more mystical than a regular pipe. All you need to do is look at an optic cable that transfers internet or cables. This is more of a mystical way to understand how these mystical pipes or these channels are working in the world above. So With that said, we can continue the next part with understanding that the same way that in Mitzrayim they had all these rivers, it's referring to, it says that they had 10 rivers there. The 10 rivers corresponding the same way that on the side of Kedusha there are 10 Sfirot, that on the side of Tum'ah, of impurity, there were 10 levels that were connected to magic, to kshafim. And it says there, it says in the Torah, I'm just going to read it quickly even though this is not what we're going to start learning now, but this is a quote from the book of Devarim, chapter 18. It says that 10 levels of magic, and they're as follows: Kosem, Ksamim, Me'onen, Menachesh, Mechashef, Chover Chaver, Shoel Ov, Yid'oni, Vedoresh El Ametim. These are what it says in Sefer Devarim about the 10 types of magic that they have in the world. And these are the Leumat Zeh, the other side of Kedusha coming from Tum'ah. That's what the Egyptians were such powerful in anything that has to do with magic and sorcery that they had to get their energy from somewhere. They got this power from somewhere. We explained 2 days ago that when Aaron threw his staff, who was a wood staff, turned into a serpent, so the sorcerers did the same thing. The Chartumim did the exact same thing. They threw their staff, that also became into serpents. But then there was a miracle that the staff of Aaron became back wood, and then he swallowed their serpents. That's when they're like, whoa, how did you do that? And that's where they figured the first time, that's when Paro and his Chartumim, they figured out that there's a power above them, that they're pulling power from a place of impurity, but they then figured out there's something higher than that. Same thing here, the preparation that we need to understand, that there are 10 powers of impurity, that from there they were able to pull their power of sorcery, of black magic and so forth. And these are a manifestation coming from 10 places in the world above that are called kshafim, magic, and this is the opposition, so to say, the leumat zeh of the 10 sfirot. With that said, now we can understand a little bit where did the next plagues came from. Now, for whatever reason, I don't know why, but in this place in the Zohar, the order of the plagues switches. First he talks about Arov, and then he talks about Kinim, about the lice, which was, the third plague was lice, and the fourth was Arov. But nevertheless, that's the order it's talking about in the Zohar. I actually don't know why it's like that. But again, if you want to follow us, page 30b, Amud Lamed, Daf Lamed, Amud Bet. And the line starts with the word Arov ki hai gavna. You have it? The Makkah, the plague of Arov, was also kind of like the plague of the frog. The ir bevlon zine de chochmata dilhon, vela yachlin litdabka. What is Arov? It's a mixture of wild animals. Just imagine now you're walking in the street and you start seeing wolves, tigers, giraffes. Well, a giraffe is not really a bad animal, but nevertheless, if you get a kick from a giraffe, you know, they say that the giraffe's kick is so strong, it can crush a skull of a lion. So even the lions are very afraid of going into the giraffes. But nevertheless, just a mixture of wild animals, which when you're thinking about it, can you imagine seeing lions running in the streets and wolves and tigers? And that in itself is a shock to see. But nevertheless, why is it called Arov? Why don't you just send just tigers? Why not just wolves? Why a mixture? Arov means irbuvia, a mixture. What does it mean? The Kadosh Baruch Hu irbem lahem, the Kadosh Baruch Hu mixed all their chokhmot, because they were able to pull this power of black magic or sorcery coming from somewhere. So they called it their wisdom. They didn't call it magic. They didn't call it kshafim. Kishuf is like when you make some type of a magic. But they called it chokhmah. That's our wisdom, because they were able to do different chokhmot. So it says here, Ir bevlon zine de chokhmata dilhon. The Kadosh Baruch Hu took their chokhmot and he mixed it up. So they weren't able to receive. Basically saying, in other words, he scrambled the frequencies. If I now want to listen to Reshet Gimel, Well, I mean, this is only the Israelis know what's Reshet Gimel. So we'll have to say, I don't know, 101 FM. You want to listen to your favorite channel. Imagine now, for 20 years, you're listening to the same channel. Now you come to the channel, somebody switched the frequency. Now I don't know where I can find this channel. So I can hear my news, I can hear my favorite music, and I can hear what I like to hear. So the Kadosh Baruch Hu, so to say, mix the frequency. He irbev et chokhmatam, where they drew energy, they couldn't figure it out, they couldn't find it. Velod, not only that, ella afilo dehane dishtakhu be'ara mechablan, lon be'ara u mechablan orchayo. Not only that, the animals that were in the land, that they used to learn from them different wisdoms. They used to look at the animal. I mean, up until today, you can look at animals and learn their wisdoms. I mean, there's many ways how you can look at an animal and learn a wisdom. You know, there's a whole martial art that is learned from animals. And there are many people can look at observant animals and learn different chokhmot. So same thing here. They used to look at the animal and learn their wisdom. Now, now the animals, they weren't so friendly to them. They were now vicious, and they used to do damages. And the animals changed their way. So even the animals got mixed with them between themselves. So the name of the plague got its name, Arov. Arov is a mixture. Now what does it mean? My Arov. Why is it called a mixture? So he says it comes from the word in Hebrew, Irbuviyah. Irbuviyah is when you mix something. Kamadat Amar, as it says, where do we see another place in the Torah that there's a mixture, and the mixture is prohibited? This you can find exactly. You can find in the book of Vayikra, chapter 19, when it says that you're not allowed to mix beged kilaim. You can mix wool and linen. So he says, what is this irbuviyah? So he quotes now from the Torah. Kamadat Amar, it says in the book of Vayikra, uveged kilaim. Beged kilaim means a garment that is kilaim, two mixture, different types. Eruvin, this is a ta'arovet, a mixture. You're not allowed to do that. And what is this eruvin that we're talking about? Tzemeru pishtim. This is wool and linen. You're not allowed to do that. Not only that, we know of another type of kilaim. Kilaim is not only shatnez. There's many types of kilaim. You can mix a donkey and an ox in the same plowing machine. And you can mix different seeds together. So kilaim is not only wool and linen. So he says here more than that. Sadecha lo tizra kilaim. Your field, you can't put in it two different mixtures. Now they're also trying to mix all sorts of species together. Not allowed to do that. What is the meaning for that? Zinin sagi'in be'aramut yada. You're not allowed to take two different seeds and to mix them in the hand and to put them together in the same place. You're not allowed to do that. So the Makkah, the plague of Erov, was the idea is to mix things together. So it came as a mixture in the world below in different animals. But really what Hashem did, He took their 10 frequencies. I call it frequencies. Rather, the Torah calls it kshafim. But I will call it frequencies for us to kind of relate, or channels. And God mixed them all up. This is Irbuviyah. Now He continues to explain what He's saying. And He says, Tachazi, come and see. Kama chelin it'aru le'elar kechad. Look how much external powers got awoken in one shot in the world above. As we know, there are different energies in the world above. We call it not necessarily energy, rather a koach, a power, a certain power. But we're not aware of what's going on above us in the world, the spiritual world. It's almost equivalent that right now, you see frequencies in this room? How can it be that if I open our radio, I can pick up radio frequencies? I don't see any frequency. Did you bump into a frequency lately? I didn't see anything. So, but they're here. They're all over there. It says radio frequencies. Some of them are high, FM, some of them are low, AM. I don't see that. So if I don't see frequencies in this world, why would I figure out or see that the frequencies in the world above? But what do the frequencies do? You can broadcast a message from point A to point B. So same thing in the world above. So here he says, come and see how much frequencies. Again, it's my word. Don't say that this is what the Zohar is saying. The Zohar is saying kochot chitzoniyim, powers that are coming from an external place, not from a pnimiut, not from an internal place. How many powers got mixed in one shot? Uval velon kuchabrichu kachada, and the Kadosh Baruch Hu mixed them and made them like one. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you see these magicians, they go like this, ta-da! How did you do that? So the Kadosh Baruch Hu mixed it all together and made them as one. Ubegin levalval achelayhu takifa le'ela. Why did Hashem did that? To mix the power, the strong powers that they had rooted from in the world above. Because the Egyptians were very powerful in controlling the powers from the world above. And up until today, there are people that are aware how to do that. Even though now there's not so much of kshafim in our world, up until about 300 years ago, the world was exactly like you see in all these movies, that there were warlocks and sorcerers and witches, and where do you think the Hollywood is getting the ideas from? This is not some fiction. But less than 300 years ago came the Baal Shem Tov, and the Baal Shem Tov was able to annul most of this power in the world. One of the famous stories that he was an orphan. He walked one day into the forest, and he used to constantly disappear for days, a little kid, and one time he came to the place, the ma'oz of the Samech Mem, and he walked in there, and he sees all these malachim, these angels, and the Samech Mem is telling him, what are you doing here? And he screamed at him a verse from the book of Tehillim, and he says, Yitpardu kol po'alei aven, that the ones who are going and doing evil should be completely uprooted and annulled. So the Baal Shem Tov was able to uproot and to cancel most of the evil forces in this world. But nevertheless, there's still some of these forces in this world. But where are they coming from? They're coming from the world above. In the world above, that's where they're sourced. So the Kadosh Baruch Hu confused, so to say, these powers in the world above. V'chol inin gevuran de'avet kuchabrichu b'mitzrayim bidachad ahava. All these gvurot, all these dinim, the judgment that the Kadosh Baruch Hu did in Mitzrayim, you know how he did it? With one hand, without putting too much effort into it. That's why the Chartumim, they said, Etzba Elokim. Etzba is a finger. This is the finger of God when they saw the lice. So it's a finger is a part of the hand. Why does it say with one hand? Because the Malchut is called Yad Hashem, the hand of Hashem. The Arim Yade Allahu Le'ela V'tata. The Kadosh Baruch Hu raised his hand from above, from the world above and the world below. And from that, they lost connection to their wisdom that came from the world above. As it says, Dichtiv, Ve'avda chokhmat chokhmav, Uvinat nevonav tisatar. This is a verse from Yeshaya, from the book of Isaiah 29, where it says their wisdom was lost from their wise ones, and binat nevonav, and the intelligence of his intelligent ones was covered and concealed. So Kadosh Baruch Hu was able to take all their sorceries and their warlocks or whatever, and suddenly they were empty. They had guns without bullets.
Like the Babylon Tower.
Excuse me?
Like the Babylon Tower.
Exactly. And that's exactly what Hashem did in the Babylon Tower. He bilbel, he confused them all. But he did that in the world above, so when it manifested into the world below, there was the confusion in the world below. Now he says, V'tachazi, come and see, K'tiv v'sichsachti Mitzrayim b'Mitzrayim. It says in the Torah, in our parasha, that the Kadosh Baruch Hu made them fight with each other. Sichsachti means to made a disagreement. So the Kadosh Baruch Hu made a disagreement between them. They started fighting amongst themselves. Mitzrayim le'ela, b'Mitzrayim le'tata. Not only that he made a problem between themselves, but he also made a sichsuch, a disagreement between the Mitzrayim of the world above and the Mitzrayim of the world below. Because we mentioned every country, every nation, everything has a minister. So the Kadosh Baruch Hu made a disagreement between the ministers of Mitzrayim in the world above to the ministers in Mitzrayim in the world below. Since the powers of the world above are superior, and not only superior, they're in control of the powers of the world below, all of them got confused in one shot. Became like a one big confusion. Meaning, והתערבו לעילה דלה הבו מצרי יחלה להתקשר בחרשייהו. Since he got everybody mixed and confused, then the angels from the world above of Mitzrayim weren't able to communicate with the angels of the world below and give them power to do their sorcery. If you remember yesterday, I said that a good army uses the same tactics. What does a good army do in the world here? They isolate the forces. That's what the Israeli government, the Israeli army is real good at. I don't know how it's called in English. In Hebrew, it's called lochama elektronit. How would you say lochama elektronit? Electronic warfare. The Israelis are masters in electronic warfare. How to scramble everything. Jamming everything. Now what happens is the forces can't control each other. They can be a mile away from each other and they don't even know where the other forces are. And then what happens is they scramble everything and jam everything. They start shooting on themselves. This is another way how a good army does tactics. You isolate the forces. So the forces in the field, they don't know who they were, where they're going, what they're doing. That's exactly what the Kadosh Baruch Hu did. Created a havoc. And needless to say that the Egyptians, their power was in their sorcery. Now when I lost power, I'm powerless. I can't do anything. Where do we stop? Now we continue. In the same place that they used to get connected before that, now they couldn't find their source of power. And for that, and therefore the Kadosh Baruch Hu brought this makah arov, this mixture, which manifested into the world, and that's where the animals came in. Meaning, the animals got mixed one inside the other. Meaning that's why it was a mixture of animals, not only lions, or only wolves, or only tigers. Everything got mixed together. Saying in other words that the Kadosh Baruch Hu mixed the angels of the world above that are in charge of the sorcery and magic in the world above. Therefore, the Egyptians couldn't do anything with their magic. They were completely parallel. It's almost like having a phone. You have a beautiful iPhone X, iPhone S, whatever the newest one is, but unfortunately, no data. That's it. Just have a nice camera. That's what it is. Can you imagine how somehow internet would be shut down? All the phones are just nice cameras. That's what it is. Parallel. Yeah? Paralyzed. Paralyzed. What did I? Yeah, I said paralyzed. Sorry. So the Egyptians, they couldn't do anything with their sorcery. Just imagine they were like Harry Potter with the wand, and they go with the wand and nothing happens. It's not working. You know, the batteries. What's going on here? Now, how did they used to do their sorcery? They used to, so to say, the word that he's using is mashbi'im. They would make an angel swear in all sorts of names of impurity, and they were able to say names of impurity, and they were able to, so to say, swear an angel, and the angel, or not to swear an angel, the angel had to be giving an oath, or they would control the angel with words, names of impurity, and the angel would do what they wanted them to do. So I'm now not going to go through all the names now, but now you go to a magic show. What does the magician say? All sorts of abracadabra and all sorts of stuff like that. Even though that's coming from Sefer Yetzirah, but nevertheless they say all sorts of words. What are these words? The words, the real magicians, it's words of impurity, shemot tmeim, names of angels of tumah, and they're able to control. And then the angel kind of like is under their spell. And the angel does whatever they want. That's how they were able to do their magic. Now, so we jumped first to Arov, now we go back to Kinim, to the lice. And we continue. Kinim, the Salka Afra de Ara. Now, there was another plague that the Kinim, the lice, came up from the ground. What was the reason for that? Yesterday I gave a few reasons that are based more on the Pshat. One of the reasons is because they used to slave the men and the women to just sweep the floor for no reason, clean the floor. So since they made them clean the floor, so they suffered from the ground. Another reason is they forced the nation of Israel to build their own bricks, and they had to dig in the ground and get sand. So you force them to use the sand. Now the sand will not produce sand anymore, rather it will produce lice. The Midrashim explains that there wasn't anything but lice, that all the sand became lice. And some of the lice, there were 14 types of lice, and some of the lice became so big, they were in the size of a little turtle. There wasn't like little lice like what you thinking that, and it was like millions of lice, like imagine like millions of needles poking your skin, chas v'shalom. So it wasn't like regular lice, what we're thinking, here, 2 lice, and they were like monsters. But nevertheless, the Midrash explains that there wasn't even a sand to stand on. Why the sorcerers couldn't duplicate it? Because in order to do magic, you have to stand on the ground, and they couldn't stand on the ground. It was all lice. Besides the fact that the mechashfim, they can't control anything that is less than the size of like a little bean, and that was too small for them. But nevertheless, let's see what the Zohar says. Salka afara de'ara, there was the land, the sand of the land. What was this plague about? And he says, Tachazi, come and see, Kol iba de'ityalidat be'ara, every fruit that how would you say a fruit grows? Where does a fruit grow from? It grows from the land. Hainu, kol hanimtza lemata mibriot haaretz asabim v'chayotze. Everything that is existing in the world, in this world, and it comes out of the land, such as grass and wheat and trees and so forth. Mechela dila'ela memana dizdar'a alla ihu. From there's a power, a minister in the world above that gives its power to grow. Which means that if I have now whatever, I have a tree, an apple tree, an orange tree, a tomato bush, well, how does it grow? Ever thought how does it grow? Okay, so you take the seed, you put it in the ground. Okay, big deal. Now what? It has to have some type of power of growth. Now, you can explain that, the biological part is what's going on here. But nevertheless, in order for it to grow in this world, there's an angel from the world above. We call it a minister, not an angel, a sar, that is in charge, and it hits on him, says, you can grow now. As the Midrash says, this is found in the Talmud, where it says that there's not even one leaf of grass that doesn't stand on it a malach, an angel, and tells him, Gdal, grow now. So everything that grows from the land, there's a certain minister, an angel that stands above it and gives it power to grow. וכאשר יעדר הלחות ההוא מהשר, אז הארץ אינה עושה פירות. Now how do you grow things in the ground? You need water. You can put it in the ground, but if there's no water, nothing will come out. So same thing here. If the liquid, so to say, or the moist, the spiritual moist that the angel has, he loses that. So same way that there's no water in this world, and the angel doesn't have his spiritual water. I'm saying moist because he says lecha. Lecha is more like something damp. But nevertheless, if the angel doesn't have that power, doesn't matter what you're going to do in this world. You can dance up and down. Nothing is going to happen. So how many times you can see different farmers that they go to one land, whatever they do, it grows beautiful. Then they take the exact same system to a different land, nothing grows. Why? Because it has to be the blessing from the world above. So if the angel lost its power, then down below nothing can happen. Now what happens if the minister, the angel, the spiritual power, instead of giving the power of growth, which is the moist or the water, the spiritual water, what if that minister starts giving lice? What will come out? Now what happens if the minister on the top gets, so to say, afflicted or hit? Then it can't give any power to the world below in order for that tree or the bush to grow whatever they need to. Ela, what does it give birth instead? Lolid kinim. So now everything starts birthing kinim, lice. So instead of tomato bush, lice. Instead of an apple tree, everything is lice. Everything was coming, lice was coming out from the ground in millions. And the same was in the root in the world above. So whatever was going on in the world above, it was manifested into this world, and everything in the world below was producing lice. So it wasn't like the 3.5 lice came from the ground and people were scratching. Everything was growing lice. So the vegetation, the trees, everything turned into lice. And millions of them, like millions of needles poking the skin. Now he continues, he says, Ta chazi, come and see, Shiv arki'in aved kuchabricho. The Kadosh Baruch Hu, there are 7 firmaments in the world below, in the world above, sorry. What are the firmaments in the world above? This is called the Zeir Anpin of the world of Atzilut. The Zeir Anpin is a group of Sfirot. Anpin means a face. In the world of Atzilut is a concept that is called Partsufim. We explained that already a couple times. One of the Partsufim is called Zeir Anpin. Zeir means small, Anpin means a face. And the Zeir Anpin is a group of Sfirot altogether. Chesed, Gvura, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yisod, Malchut. 7 Sfirot attached together, included in each other. This is called a Partsuf. So the 7 firmaments in the world above are the Zeir Anpin. And that's what the Kadosh Baruch Hu created. I mean, who created the Sfirot? The Kadosh Baruch Hu created. It wasn't made in China. Kadosh Baruch Hu created the Sfirot. And in the world above, they're called Sfirot, but they're manifesting into the world as Rekiim, as firmaments. Kegavna, the same way, Da Shiva Ar'in, compared to that, or corresponding to that, there are 7 lands, we'll call it, but these are more called in the Kabbalistic term, Heichal. Heichal is a chamber, or a hall. But in the world above, this is called Sheva Aratzot, 7 lands, and which is the Heichalot. What are these chambers are? These are the Heichalot that are called Nukba de Zeir Anpin. Nukba means the female side of the Sfirot coming from the Zeir Anpin. Ve'inun techumin de mitparshan beduchtaihu. And these 7 chambers are corresponding to 7 aspects that are called aklimim, like a climate, a different type of climate. And they get separated in different places. And he explains, Shiva reki'in le'ela, the 7 firmaments in the world above, are the root of the 7 firmaments in the world below. Shiva techumei ara le'ela, the aspects of this land in the world above, are the root of the 7 aspects of the world of the land in the world below. Kehai Gavna, the same way, letata mitparshan dargin, in the world below there are separate levels. Shiva rekin, 7 firmaments. Shiva techumei ara. There are 7 firmaments and then 7 aspects of the world below. I'm going to explain everything in a second. We just have to understand really what it means. Now it says, Eser umot shochnot bekol tchum v'tchum. 10 nations dwell in every aspect. Ve'ha'ukmehu chavaria b'sheva arin b'kesufta da al da. And the same way that the students of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai already explains that there are 7 lands. I don't have to really call it a land, but it says Sheva Aratzot bebeten ha'adama. In the land itself, there are also civilizations, let's call it this way. Some people think that there are life form on different planets. We don't know necessarily according to the Torah if it's true, but we do know based on the Torah that inside the planet there are more life forms. And it says in the Zohar, it's like a skin of the onion, that we are on the external skin, but there's more skins inside, meaning there's more life forms in the actual ball, the actual planet. Now I got you a little bit like, what? But nevertheless, that's what the Zohar says. We're not going to stop on this too much because we want to explain something else. And he explains, Ve'inun shiva techumei ara le'ela, kol chad v'chad mitparshan le'eser. Each and every one of these aspects of the 7 aspects in the world above, that one of these 7 aspects, Sod Zayin Heichalot Shemalchut. In the sphere of Malchut there are 7 chambers, 7 halls, Heichalot. Kol echad ve'echad mitpashet v'nechlak ל10 Heichalot. Each and every one of them gets spread into another 10 chambers. So that's a quick calculation, 70. כי כל ספירה וספירה נחלקת ל10 בחינות. Every ספירה that we know of is divided into 10 aspects. So right off the bat we know we have 100 sfirot and not 10 sfirot. And it's even more, because inside there are more aspects of it. But as which sfira is built in or divided into 10 sfirot, right off the bat you have already 100 sfirot. But only in the sfira of Malchut there are 7 chambers. Each and every one of them is divided into 10 chambers. And then he continues, says, Hareim Shiveim Bechinot. Now we get from that 70 divisions, so to say. Ve'inun mitpalgan leshivin maman de maman al shivin amin. That's where we get the root of the ministers, or the sarim that are in charge of all the 70 nations. That's where it's originated from. והערעה תחומה דכל עמה ועמה סחרה לערעה קדישא דישראל. And the root of the land of all these aspects of every nation and every Asian is surrounded around the nation of Israel, the land of Israel, but from the world above. So we have the land of Israel in the world above that is surrounded by 70 nations. That's why physically in the world below we are surrounded by 70 nations. And what is this referring to? What is the land of Israel in the world above? This is the Malchut, the Holy Malchut. Kama de'at Amar, as it says in the book of Shir HaShirim, Hine mitato shel Shlomo, here's the bed of Shlomo. Hainu, what is the bed of Shlomo? We're not talking about now the actual story that I told you already numerous times, that Shlomo had a little of a conflict with the head of all the demons. His name was Ashmedai, and he tricked him. He kicked him out of his body, kicked him 400 parsaot, kicked him to China. But nevertheless, no need to repeat the story now, but nevertheless, Shlomo HaMelech, when he came back, was very scared, so he had 60 soldiers around his bed. But this is the pshat of the verse. But nevertheless, Shir HaShirim, in the third part of Shir HaShirim, it says, Hine mitato shel Shlomo. Here in the bed of Shlomo, what is the bed of Shlomo? This is referring to the Malchut. Why is it referred to the Malchut? שהמלכות היא מיתתו של מלך שהשלום לו. Malchut is peace. Shlomo was the king of peace. Now he continues, it says, 60 גיבורים סביב לה מגיבורי ישראל. 60 brave heroes are surrounding the bed from the heroes of the nation of Israel. Who are these 60 גיבורים? These are 60 holy angels that are surrounded constantly around the Malchut. שמהם יוצאים 60 שרי מעלה המסבבים מרחוק את המלכות. From that comes 16 ministers that they're constantly surrounded the sphere of Malchut. ועשרה בגייבהו תמירין. Now you have another 10 ministers that are in charge of all the 10 nations that are around the domain of the land of Israel. Meaning, what are these 10 nations? 7 nations that they fell down in the conquering of the land, and then there was another 3 nations who are the Kini, Knizi, וכדמוני, שעתידים ליפול לעתיד בכיבוש האמיתי, that they're going to go and be destroyed in the future conquering. והינון שיבין דסחרן ערא קדישא, and these are the 70 nations that are surrounded the land, the holy land of Israel, which is the world above. In the land of Israel of the world above is the Malchut. And for that it says, Vedahu le'elag, all this is in the world above, but we know that everything is in the world above, Kegavna daletata. The same way, this are in the world below, and these are the 70 nations that are surrounding the land of Israel in the physical world. Now we're going to conclude with one more paragraph, where he says, V'tachaz, you come and see, Ha'u ar'a dechuma dechulka de Mitzray. Why did we give this preparation, this explanation? Let me just repeat it, recap it very quickly. Kadosh Baruch Hu created 7 chambers in the world above. We're not going to get into the explanations why and how and what, but the Kadosh Baruch Hu created 7 chambers in the world above. These are called 7 sfirot. These are the sfirot of the Zeir Anpin. Okay? We'll call it now chambers. They mirror to them 7 departments or 7 aspects of it that are called Eretz, a land. But that's where it manifests into the world below as 7 firmaments, and then from that into the 7 nations that had to be conquered and so forth. But a quick explanation that we gave, that in the sphere of Malchut, which is called Eretz Israel, is surrounded with 70 ministers. And each one is a division, so to say, or an aspect, or a domain, which means we know we have 70 nations. We're not now counting now the flags on and what they have in the First Avenue and United Nations. This is not what we're talking about. Some of them are invented nations. But we do know that there are 70 nations. One of the nations, of course, is the nation of Egypt, of Mitzrayim. So all this preparation is to explain as follows. Ta'achazi, come and see. This portion, the aspects, that is in the division of the land of Mitzrayim, Be'ahu Zimna, at the time when the plague happened, the plague of lice, and this is, I'm saying as a side note, the plagues first were affected in the world above, and they manifested into the world below. So there was also plagues going on in the world above. But at the time that the plague of lice, at the exact same time, Oshit Kuchabrichu Etzba Adile, the Kadosh Baruch Hu, he, so to say, pointed a finger, which is the corresponding to Malchut, V'itiyaledu tafsirin behahu techuma. And in this domain were born flames of fire. And the flames of fire would dry out anything that is moist or liquid in the land. V'ityabshu kol inun techumin derakiku maya. All the domains that were corresponding to Mitzrayim, to Egypt, that were damp or moist with water, they all dried out. V'chol yeroka demayin denavin, and everything that was green, like grass or vegetation, everything dried out. Why? Because there wasn't any water. And then, because of that, ze garam lipush ba'aretz. So because there wasn't any water, there wasn't any vegetation, there wasn't nothing green, so it caused the land to become very dirty, the sand to become very dirty. Kedein letata itchazi'u kilmin me'afara de'ara. Now what happens is that since there wasn't any vegetation, wasn't any grass, nothing flourished, then all the lice came out from the land below. Let's just do one little paragraph and then we finish. Now he's asking, if this is the case, we have learned that it was Aaron that hit the ground. Why not Moshe Rabbeinu? Here he's not talking about it, but we know that the reason why Aaron had to hit the ground is because the ground protected Moshe Rabbeinu when he killed the Egyptian. And Moshe Rabbeinu didn't kill him with a knife or with a fist or with a gun. Moshe Rabbeinu said a few holy words and Shemot Meforashim, and he killed the Egyptian and he buried him into the ground. So the land protected Moshe Rabbeinu, so Moshe Rabbeinu could not strike the land. So Aaron had to do it. So he says here, V'ha itma, we have already learned that the Aaron hava mache, it was Aaron that hit the land for order for the kinim, for the lice to come out. And he explains, Aval begin da Aaron hava mache, for the fact that Aaron strike the land, le'achaza di mina kudsha brichu tavar lesanin, to show that it's the right hand of the Kadosh Baruch Hu that breaks the evil. Kama dat amar, yemincha Adonai tir'atz oyev. This is a verse we're going to read very soon. We read it every day. This is from chapter 15 in Shmot. Yemincha Hashem tir'atz oyev. Right? Your right hand, Hashem, will break and crush the enemy. So we do know, Noda she'Aaron haya merkava lemidat hachesed. Aaron was the chariot for the attribute of chesed. Shul sodeh yamin. We know that chesed is the right hand. Aval hamaka hayta al yedei pushka nizgar leil. It was Aaron that had to strike the land, and by the fact that the land got dried, then the lice came out. Now he says here something very interesting. Sometimes the Zohar says things that has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but I think that's at least what we want to take from that. He took a little detour to saying that we learned that Aaron was the one who gave the hit on the ground. Why? Because Aaron was a chariot for the midah of Chesed. Hashem strikes the enemy with Chesed, with the right hand. Aaron had to do that himself. But now he says here that Aaron was the one who struck the land. It became dirty, and ipush is like moldy. And then all the lice came out. And here he had something interesting. Kegav nada, the same way, zamin kuchabrichu le'ata al karda deromi rabta. The exact same thing that happened then, what Aaron did, the Kadosh Baruch Hu is about to do in the near future on the great city of Romi. The same way that the Kadosh Baruch Hu struck Mitzrayim with 10 plagues, then Hashem is going to do exactly the same in the near future on the great city of Romi. Did I tell you how many times that we know that when it's talking about the city of Rome, it's talking about America? Dichtiv, where do we get that? This is a verse from Yeshayahu. V'nehepchu nachalea lezefet ve'afara legofrit. The verse in Yeshayahu, in Isaiah 34, it says that their streams will turn into pitch and the dust into sulfur, and the land into burning pitch. Basically, turning the whole land into lava and how do you say, zephet is more like tar. That everything is burning. And gofrit is referring to fire and very powerful heat. So what is he learning from here? Masik midvarav ve'alda, and because the dryness, the wetness, the moist of the land was completely dried, kol afar haaretz haya kinim bechol eretz Mitzrayim. All the land of Mitzrayim dried out, then the land, the sand itself became the kinim, the lice. I once read a nice interpretation also that one of the reasons for the kinim is because it says about our nation, vayaz zaracha ke'afar haaretz, that's talking about Avraham Avinu, that your offspring, your kids will be as multiple like afar haaretz. So the strike, because they wanted to kill us, then the land that we're ruled to, then they went and killed them. But basically saying, in other words, just to quickly conclude, is that the way that the kinim, the lice came, first of all, it afflicted the world above, it hit the world above, dried out the ministers, the angels from the world above, so instead of them giving birth to anything positive, they gave birth in the world above to the lice. So it manifested into the world below, and everything that the land produced was not vegetations, was not grass, was not flowers, rather the land produced lice, which is coming out and not coming out like a fountain of lice. What is interesting here that he says completely out of context that the same way that the Kadosh Baruch Hu struck Mitzrayim with 10 plagues, then the great city of Romi will be struck with the exact same thing in the near future, referring to the coming of Mashiach. What are we going to learn from that? Come to your own conclusions. But to summarize what we did now, what we learned now, we'll do the rest tomorrow, is that, again, the Arov was a mixture in the world above. The Kadosh Baruch Hu scrambled and jammed everything in the world above that it affected everything in the world below. And the Kinim was also an effect from the world above. When we read what the Zohar says, we don't only want to know exactly what happened then, we also want to see how it's affecting me. So if I realize and know that whatever happens in the world above will affect the world below, then anything that I want to change in the world below, I have to go to the source of it. If in the world below there's a disagreement, means in the world above there's a disagreement. If in the world below there's a sickness or a disease, means in the world above there's the sickness and the disease. If in the world below I'm lacking something, then it means that the problem is coming from the world above, not from the world below. So today I spoke with somebody, he unfortunately is battling some disease, And he told me he's going to go somewhere and blah, 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 and one of the treatments is to be injected with a lot of antibiotics. And I told him, don't go. He's like, why? That's what the doctor says. I said, well, the antibiotics are not going to heal you. The antibiotics are going to kill you. Because the antibiotics are attacking the germs in your body, that the germs themselves in your body have to rejuvenate themselves to fight the actual disease, and the antibiotics are going to kill those germs in your body. The antibiotics is going to make you weaker. It's not going to heal you. So anyways, what I was saying fell on deaf ears, but that's not the point. The point is that when I have a problem in the world below, I have to look what's the solution in the world above. The solution doesn't come from the world below. So again, I don't want to attack different, I don't know even how to call it, different theories in the world below. But when I see a problem in the world here, if I'm dealing with some problem in the world here, then you try to backtrack, where is it coming from the world above, so I can fix it in the root. Not to fix the symptom here in this world. This is a band-aid. Rather go and fix the problem, the root of it in the world above. So the Zohar is not only telling us what spiritually happened at the time of the plagues, it's giving us a very simple message that everything happened in the world above. And the result was that it came down to the world below. So it's kind of teaching us that everything originates in the world above. You want to fix something in the world below, you have to go to the root in the world above and see where there you can fix the root of the problem, and then it will manifest into the world and fix any type of a problem in the world below. How to do that? That we can't say in a very short class, but at least we know that you want to go always to the root of the problem. If I have now a disagreement with somebody, just one example out of many, if now I have a disagreement with this certain individual, or the certain individual is going against me in one way or another, the problem is not in this world. The problem in the world is an excuse, so to say. There is a problem in the world above. There's some type of a problem in the root of the, and it doesn't have to be necessarily the problem with the person that I have the problem with. But if somebody is now attacking me in one way or another, instead of me being upset at the person who's attacking me, I have to understand that in the root, there's a short circuit in the world above that is causing it to come down into the world in that type of a form, which means I have to do tshuva. What did I do wrong? What can I change that will affect the root of the problem? So with that said, we're going to continue B'ezras Hashem tomorrow. We have a few more plagues to go through. We did just 4. For whatever reason, I really don't know why, but the Zohar doesn't bring too much information about the rest of the plagues. Next week we're going to do in Parashat Bo. We have another 3 plagues to go through. And in the meantime, what we need to pray for is that the prophecy of Yeshaya is not going to be manifesting into this world. That is going to happen the same thing with the 10 plagues. So, B'ezras Hashem, what we need to do is strengthen ourselves in Torah and mitzvot. B'ezras Hashem, Hashem will bless us with great happiness, success, and health. Till the next time. רבי חניה בן הקשה אומר, רצה הקדוש ברוך הוא לזכות את ישראל, לפיכך הרבה להם תורה ומצוות, שנאמר, אדוני חפץ למען צדקו יגדיל תורה ויאדיר.